lot of time invested for both of us into the relationship on a business and a friendship level. And I think that made it tougher emotionally for us to part, other than just being some business issue. So it was tough, and it wound up it wound up where we both just left each other alone after that. It wasn't this thing of constant berating each other doing anything. I would never say anything negative about him because I do believe in what he does, and I'm a firm believer of his genius.
The second record, which I think was called Prince, was a little hint, I think, of what he could do commercially. I think it was probably his most self-consciously commercial record. He played again at a downtown theater called the Orpheum, which was sold out, and the difference in performances was night and day. I mean, Prince had basically come out of his shell. He reminded me of Jimi Hendrix and Sly Stone, but it was so rockified that I'd never really seen anything quite like it. And I remember my date at the time was beside herself, and this was a supposedly mature woman who was like on the edge of her seat and just about ready to scream herself. And it was a really electrified performance. Prince prancing around in his bikini underwear and his leg warmers. He still had the big afro, although he was starting to comb it down a little bit, more in a Beatles style cut now than a straight afro. But it was a sign of things to come, and it was a vast improvement, and from there it just got better.
Then came Dirty Mind, and you put on this album, Dirty Mind, and you're just blown away. It's the funkiest, raw, moving record that has ever come out of this town, that will ever come out of this town.
Dirty Mind, which, I mean, just broke down all the doors, sexually explicit lyrics, the look, the sound of the thing, and then the multiracial, multi-gender appeal. I mean, it was a record that just crossed all the taboos and rewrote the map for where people should go musically.
Controversy followed Dirty Mind, touching again on the taboo themes of sexuality, with allusions to politics and religious imagery too.
1999 put him on the charts. It was a phenomenal record, a double album. It really showed what a command he had of the studio, and it also expanded him musically into some jazzier things and some very experimental pop directions. Also yielded the biggest single to that point, Little Red Corvette.
Charged with destiny now, Prince and his band began a series of surprise gigs at First Avenue.
You could probably compare it to, the Beatles going on the roof at Abbey Road or something, and Prince would routinely show up at First Avenue either to hang out or to do gigs, and it became a big deal to be there. It was becoming clearer and clearer that this guy was a major talent, prolific beyond belief, and a tantalizing performer, the likes of which we probably hadn't seen since Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, he played I forget the act. I was just on YouTube, played here a couple times. R.E.M. played here in the early 80s. That's R.E.M., YouTube, Billy Idol, English Beach. There was a lot of shows going on at the time. But apparently something clicked because he picked up on the club in terms of wanting to play here every now and then for these unannounced shows.
With 1999 a critical and commercial success, Prince began conquering America, then England and Japan. Rolling Stone named him Artist of the Year in 1982.
The stage was set for Purple Rain. There had been talk for a year that Prince was writing a movie when he was on tour for the 1999 album. I know that the Warner Brothers Film Division thought, this is something we have to do, let's do it, let's get it out. All of a sudden they had an $80 million U.S. hit. Well, it went on to make almost as much money worldwide. The record concert took off. He was all over the radio that summer in 1984.
With the release of Purple Rain, Prince was vaulted into superstardom. His royal badness became a household name. He was no longer the quiet kid on the street, hungry for a record deal.
It's pretty bizarre. You really couldn't talk to him after that. Because then he went through different management changes. I remember seeing him with his new managers after Owen. And they actually put their hands on me so that I couldn't talk to him. Me and Andre had seen him in Dayton's and stuff, and we thought he looked a little cute. He had some little pink pants on, some little boots, and a little pink scarf. And this is when he was starting to look like he was getting really far. We were far out, but he was like, seemed like he was distant emotionally. And it was those characters he was around, because I know he didn't want to trust them. We didn't like him from the beginning, but then I knew something he was getting like even further out, as far as like dealing with the people that he knew. So I knew I didn't see Pepe around anymore. I didn't see, Matt and them guys really never said anything, but Dez wasn't in the group anymore. Gail had left, the original keyboardist, and I had brought her to the band. And she didn't like what's going on, because basically everybody had in this band were really honest, hard-working people. They weren't people that liked Prince because he was Prince. They loved him because they seen the genius and the talent, and they was willing to sacrifice everything. That's everybody, and I ain't lying. Everybody sacrificed everything so that they could see that work, because they knew it would benefit all. And that's the bottom line. They didn't want anything at all extra special. Everybody, including Owen, believed in that man's genius.
I kind of didn't want to work for Prince at this time, because he was getting a little star-itis is what I called it. You know, and I've seen it happen in a lot of groups, and a lot of people throughout my life, you know. And I didn't want to be catering to him. I'd do anything for him, you know, because I wanted to do it, but not because he wanted me to do it.
You know what's funny, as I look back, I think about, there was a whole group there, and I think about why I selected Prince. And I'd love to tell you, I knew he was a star. You know, I sense we have a lot of ability, but funnily enough, one of the reasons I selected Prince was he seemed like he didn't have too big an ego and he'd be easy to work with. He was easy to work with.
You should get some of his fan mail. This is something that he didn't understand, you know. Girls would write him letters, and they put in there how much they loved him, how much they loved his music. They send gifts, necklaces, rings and everything, you know, gold-plated things, you know, not the real expensive stuff, you know. And pictures they send, and little letters like, I want you to marry me, and things like that, and I'd show him the Prince and stuff like that, and he would go like, gee, this is like, how could these people don't even know me? You know, how could they love me? You know, I'm saying, hey man, they like the music. They like what you're doing. They like what you're saying.
So we started looking at what name we should use for Prince. And I remember one evening we had a long discussion because Prince wanted to be Prince Nelson. He says, you know, that's my name. That's who I'm going to be. And for days I said, look, you know, there is only one. If we go out and we get you out there and we make you famous, there is only one Prince. There's never been another Prince. We don't need the Nelson. Ooh, I don't know. That's my name. But eventually it came around, and we ended up with an artist named Prince.
We wrote a song together called Just Another Sucker. And I remember it very well. We was at my house on 3809 Upton. And